Hi, and welcome to episode 246 of the Mike White's podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by KC.
Now
How's things, mate?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. You?
Yeah, pretty good. Tired, but, I always am at this point. It's just become a state of being. So sometimes you just feel like all your energy is gone and you're just dead in the water. Unlike Spencer's Leeds career, which is Djed in the water.
Hey. It's good that I enjoyed that.
Sub-editor's headline. Yeah, that's probably the main thing to get into at the start of this. Djed Spence had his loan terminated by Leeds United, sent back to Spurs. He's played 7 games for the club, which is only like 4 starts. Played most of his minutes that he has played at left back. We'll do it in order. Like first things first. I don't think either of us were expecting this.
Yeah, fresh off the news of Sonny Perkins' heroic return from a loan spell, which was I don't we've not really recalled players before, so
did we recall Perkins or did they send him back?
Yes.
Yes.
I assume, much like Wayne Rooney's departure, it was mutual, apart from the bits that weren't.
Yeah, Rooney sounded very mutual, didn't it?
Yeah. No, it maybe explained more why he didn't come on against Birmingham, because I think when Byron went down, we were all kind of assuming Djed Spence would be the first person to come on, but no, went to Firpo instead.
Yeah. I've got exactly that written in the notes. It seemed odd when Firpo came on instead of him against Birmingham, but it makes sense now.
Yeah. One of the things I've kind of read in the last day or two, and I probably haven't noticed it as much from not being in the stadium, is quite a lot of people complaining about his lack of getting back after we'd lost possession.
There was one game getting back. There was one game in particular, and I honestly can't remember which game it was now because but where everyone noticed. We were like comfortably ahead in the game, and he was just luckily by that point Jadon Anthony had come on, and he's very disciplined and got back and covered for him, but he just didn't get back, and Farker gave him a very obvious bollocking in front of everyone, and it appears that there's been a bit of that, but he's one of them. There's been rumours about his attitude basically since he signed. And I was very reluctant to put any stock in any of that because you do just get that sometimes, and it's often not true. And unfortunately, it is true that these rumours seem to always be black players. So I didn't want to put any stock in it because it wasn't coming from anywhere official. But did you see any of Farker's press conference an hour and a half ago?
I haven't, no.
Well, he was asked about Spence, and he gave a very, very nothing answer. And then Graham Smith asked him again. So he obviously thought, must have to go into this a bit more. And he said, it's important, the potential and the quality of the player, but also the professionalism, the discipline, the workload on and off the pitch. Also the soft skills, if he's positive and committed, good for the group, engaged with these topics. In the summer, we came here in order to create and bring new values and create a new culture within the club. When we speak about a player, if he's permanent or a loan deal, we have expectations. These expectations are in several topics important. Our demands are very, very high. We don't differentiate between loan players and permanent players. We're pretty picky in this topic. That, without going into specifics, is his attitude stinks, isn't it?
It's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah, obviously, once Fark says it, I'm absolutely willing to put stock in all of those rumours, but his attitude wasn't very good because that's basically what Fark said there.
I mean, you look, there is the ability to sort of look back at, obviously, Warnock sent him away from Middlesbrough on loan to Forest. And he had a great spell at Forest.
He was the best right in the league that year.
But there is the little bits you kind of look into him posting, him taking to Twitter to post a picture of him sat in the dressing room after promotion, smoking a cigar, saying thanks Neil Warnock.
Yeah. which was fun.
It was funny. There is that, again, very much a hindsight thing, but it does make you look back now and think that probably shouldn't be your motivation at this point.
Oh, spite is a very powerful motivator.
It is, but as a professional athlete, I think you need to have higher priorities.
Yeah. You want some healthy motivation, but you don't mind a couple of really spiteful bastards.
And then obviously that's quickly followed by a move to Spurs where he played 30 minutes.
He didn't play much. That was one of the weird ones because he was another one a bit like Jack Clark where...
Oh, he's a good young player.
Yeah, it was more the board signing him than the actual coach wanting him. But I thought that this was going to be a really good signing. And I can't pretend like he didn't show flashes of having a lot of quality. Like, he can beat a man well. He's obviously ridiculously quick, which is incredibly valuable. But I suppose coming in, playing like a pretty good 10-minute cameo on your debut, and then being out for 2 months with a knee injury.
It's very Leeds United.
It is very Leeds, and he just hasn't settled. Farker also mentioned that he's had some stuff in his personal life that's meant he's had to go back to London a few times, which probably hasn't helped either. But even despite all of that, I'm very surprised at us. It makes me think that the attitude thing must have been a genuine problem. Because if it had just not been quite what they thought and not been fit, I think they'd have kept him around. Because it's not like we're blessed at fullback.
Yeah, especially with Byram having gone off injured in the last game as well. So there is, well, Leo Hjelde might well become a thing again.
Yeah,
but
we'll probably come on to that because I really wanted to play against Peterborough.
Yeah, I think especially given what happened during the summer and going into the end of the transfer window, it was probably Fark looking at that, just thinking, you know what, let's not drag this out. Just let's send him back to Spurs and let's move on before we potentially have any other issues with players kicking off about something or other.
Yeah, that is how it sounds. But yeah, it's a shame because I thought it was a brilliant signing when we made it. Like, I really did think perfect. That's his right wing back all season.
Yeah, well,
not only has he barely played, when he has played, he's barely played on the right.
Yeah, well, so long, Djed Townsend. We hardly knew you.
Yeah. But the game that he didn't come on in when we expected him to, we will get into a little bit. Obviously, it's a few days ago now. Leeds 3, Birmingham 0. The sort of talking points before the game were that Carl Darlow was injured. And the first news story didn't even mention Glasson. It just said Harry Christie is here. And everyone thought, what the fuck has happened here?
One goalkeeper out, that's possible. 3 goalkeepers out, unlikely. But Harry Christie playing, I'd like to see that.
Nice. But yeah, so Christopher Classen played in goal. His first start for the club, only his second appearance. His first football of the year because he hadn't played a single under-21s game all season, which is why we wondered if he was even here until he was on the bench against West Brom. He did fine. The other big bit of team news was Patrick Bamford coming in for Joel Pirou. Bamford playing as an out-and-out 9 with Rutter being the 10. And in fairness, them being that way around was never up to do with Rutter. It was always to do with Pirou and his pressing. As to be said, Rutter looked really, really good for his deep starting position. But
yeah,
he tends to do that when he's playing at 9, though, anyway, doesn't he? So
I suppose it gives him a bit more license to move into wide areas as well and kind of drag people about a bit more. It's the free roll, isn't it, at that point? And I think it just kind of releases him a little bit more. Bamford's ability to press is better than either Pirou or Jorginho.
He's probably more disciplined than Jorginho. He's not as good at tackling, because Rutter might be as good at tackling as anyone in our side, including like Joe Rodon. And
yeah, but I think I think we saw how much more effective it was having an actual striker up front, which I think is going to lead to the conversation essentially of, right, Joel, this is what we need you to do.
Yeah.
Because I can't see us spending that sort of money on a player like that to have him on the bench for the rest of the season.
No, I mean, we're gonna be really out of order here, but it's fine. I did think it was interesting that when Pirou did come on, he did play that role.
Yeah, I mean, he went up front.
It wasn't loads of time, was it? I'll just yeah, he came on 75th minute, and he did, for that 15 minutes, for the most part, actually lead the line and play 9. Not massively effectively, but the game was dead, to be honest. So you can't leave. But the fact that he was just told to do that is probably the most interesting thing. As for the game itself, it was very one-sided. Like, Birmingham was really shit. Leeds were on top the entire time. I'd say finally got the goal, because it felt like finally 34 minutes. It felt like it should have been a lot earlier than that. Dan James gets the ball out on the right. Doesn't like probably beats his man, just shifts it and gets himself some space just by being quick. Really good cross. Bamford hangs at the far post, heads it in past John Ruddy. And I've rarely seen Ellen Road so pleased for a player.
Yeah.
Because me and my dad got in a little bit earlier than we normally do. So there was a bit more talking with people around us, and everyone was saying, "Oh God, I hope Bamford scores today." That was the main thing everyone wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people, other than the obvious reasons of wanting Leeds to do well, just want him to do well. I think most people are aware of kind of the struggle he's been through between injuries and trying to find form. And he is a very likable person.
Yeah.
To be fair. Very, like, quite endearing as a footballer.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it goes back to after the Stoke game when he got booed on by portions of the South Stand.
Yeah.
And then everyone else kind of thinking, no, fuck you. That, like, there's been the talks throughout the season of his appearances being very ineffective, but we've spoken plenty of times about, one, the amount of minutes he's been getting when he's come off the bench, and the same for any other substitute, but also the situations he's been coming on in games where you look at West Brom, where it's just throw everyone up front and they're playing with a low block, so there's no space to operate in.
Yeah, he's not really an impact player, is he? He is a 90 minutes player.
Yeah,
he needs time, because, like, you know, against West Brom, you saw him make runs and he didn't really get on the end of it. And to be honest, they didn't really find him in a similar way in this one. But the fact that he just keeps going and occupies defenders just makes the team function better.
And what was the offside inside the first 10 seconds?
It was about 7 seconds. It was so quick.
Absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. But no, I was delighted for him. And it was a good header as well. I was going to say, I thought he got up too early. I still, actually, having watched it back, I think he did get up too early. He just somehow managed to hang there.
And leapt like a salmon.
Yeah. But that was really pleasing. And the second goal is what really kills the game, to be honest, because you are watching it thinking, oh, we should be further ahead. And then in first half stoppage time, Junior Firpo overlaps down the left, plays a good ball in with quite a lot of pace on it. And although it takes a deflection going in, I think it's a very underrated finish from Dan James, because that was not an easy ball to hit, and it wasn't an easy ball to keep down. And he struck it really cleanly. A little deflection goes in, 2-0 at half time, and you did basically know the game was dead from then.
I mean, they'd offered so little at this point as well. Klassen had made that one sort of awkward-looking save, which was
Where it was kind of low by his legs.
It was, sort of almost just out of reach of his foot. So he kind of has to fall sideways but down. And he parries that one off. Outside of that, I don't know what Wayne Rooney was thinking.
No.
Well, I think towards the end I had a rough idea what he was thinking, but
yeah, then in the second half it was more of the same. That Birmingham did have one big chance where there was like just a high ball that we let bounce and didn't get tight in midfield, and suddenly they play a ball, and it was someone running in behind Firpo. He had a really good game, but that did happen, and he like goes for a little chip dinked finish over Klassen. I in real time thought he'd saved it, and I haven't seen it back yet. There's people who've seen replay who still think he saved it, but it was given as a goal kick anyway. But he got off his line well, so I'd be willing to call it good goalkeeping. And Leeds didn't actually seal it until midway through the second half. Really nice bit of interplay, like 5 or 6 quick passes to move it around. Jorginho Rutter gets out a Sam Wedge and flicks a ball over the defence. Really, really well. Just
lovely, wasn't it?
Great ball. Firpo runs in behind. Really just takes his time, picks the right pass, gives it Somerville. Somerville passes it into the corner. Patrick Bamford does very well to not stick a toe out because he's a good 5 yards offside.
He's trying really hard to not step into it, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, and he made it really obvious for the linesman as well. Like, no, I didn't touch it. I'm so far out of the way. Because it only takes the linesman to look at it wrong and go, oh, he's offside. And that's that.
Yeah.
But no, that was a really good goal. Somerville's 12th of the season, which is really good going. But Somerville being good isn't really a shock. Dan James, I was going to say, had a good game. He had a good first half. The first 15 minutes of the second half, he should have had a hat-trick. And he just made a complete bollocks of it whenever he got into a good position. But he just had a bad 15 minutes. But I suppose the most interesting thing to talk about from that is Junior Firpo's performance.
The Championship Junior. I think we might have found a level. I suppose if you're going to throw him in to play the majority of the game, throwing him on against Birmingham is as good an opponent as any. Because outside of that ball in behind, he pretty much had the license to get forward and be part of the attacks without the fear of being hit on the counter attack or anything like that. So fairly low pressure, but coming away with 2 assists. It's probably the best I've seen him play.
He had like that 2 or 3 game run, didn't he, Premier League, where he had like 3 good games in a row and stayed fit for like 5.
Yeah.
Well, he might actually do say it was like he scored that goal against Southampton and and then he just got injured again, and that was that.
Southampton, the last bastion of hope.
Yeah. But the thing that I really enjoyed about watching Phil, I mean, obviously the 2 assists are great, but one, he positionally did a lot of the things Byram does. Like off the ball, he did tuck in to when we were just keeping the ball, and he just kept it well, nothing silly, just calm in possession. But there was a thing that he was doing that I haven't seen his fullbacks do this well in a while, actually. When he had the ball wide, his passes sort of from the touchline into the number 10 area, usually Rutter, but into there. He played like 5 or 6 of them that took out 4 players. And he just kept getting them right. And God, it made a difference for how well Leeds were able to get up the pitch. It was I was genuinely really impressed with him. And obviously, as he hasn't played much football and we haven't got any other fullbacks, you'd assume he's going to stay in against Peterborough, which is probably good for him.
Yeah, he probably needs. I wonder, depending on how the game's going, if it's maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and then get him off. But yes, I mean, I suppose going into next weekend, we're probably going to need him unless there is something lined up. Because
I think he's. almost, unless Byram comes back quicker than it sounded like he's going to from the press conference, I think he's almost guaranteed to start. Leeds also hit the post twice in the second half. Patrick Bamford with like a low shot from the edge of the box, so it was a bit unlucky. And Firpo himself from a Jadon Anthony corner, which I've only just seen that back for the first time. That was a much better header than I thought it was in real time, like in the ground.
It's a great.
It was really unlucky.
Really good glancing header across goal. Very unlucky to come back off the post.
Yeah, off the post straight to Ampadu. Oh yeah, he's 4 yards offside, but he still missed because he's not a goal scorer, isn't the lad? Although he did nearly score in like the last minute, didn't he?
Did he though? Did he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was straight to keeper.
Once he scores, but I'm not putting any money on that man to score a goal this season.
He's a bit foreshadowing, isn't he, for being in front of goal?
Anytime I hear someone say, "Go and shoot," like, no, not you. No. You get it wide, you.
Yeah. And the fallout from this, and it's always a bad sign when all four sides of the ground are singing sacked in the morning. The last time I think I saw it was Dave Hockaday away at Bradford.
And he survived. He got another game. Did he not?
No, I'm pretty sure that he got sacked when we got back to the car.
Was that one? I thought he had got another league game.
No, I think it was like straight after the game, if I remember rightly. But
yeah, Wayne Rooney clearly not well liked. What was it? 9 defeats in 15.
Yeah, and it was only 2 wins. They went from what, 5th to 20th.
Yep. Well run football club.
Oh, he actually got sacked the day after, but I think that the news broke straight after the game, and it was only made official the next day. Yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, it fucking serves them right. They were doing well. They had a coach that was doing well. They had him 5th, and they sacked him because they wanted a big name. And there was no actual thought as to whether this, the actual football, the actual coaching, any of that. They just wanted. They are American owners. They wanted a name that was famous in America. And it was just stupid. And it's the second time they've done it at Birmingham, because they did it to was it Gary Rowett that they sacked when they were doing well, and then got Zola and they dropped like a stone. Yeah. Well, he's gone. There is quite an interesting managerial appointment that I will just mention in the Championship. Swansea have hired Luke Williams for Notts County coach, and he plays really expansive, really good football. So it'll be interesting to see how he does, whether he's able to translate it by moving up a couple of levels. We've briefly mentioned Sonny Perkins coming back. I'd forgot that he came on the opening day of the season. So he can't play for anyone else. He's played for 2 already this season. So it's basically 21's football. And so long as Transfermarkt is correct, because I haven't double-checked this, it says that he played 7 FA Cup minutes at Oxford. So he's also cup-tied for us. So we can't even chuck him in against Peterborough just to see how he does.
Yeah.
So that's him just in the 21s for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
He's another one where there's a lot of rumours about attitude and stuff. In my head, he is older than he is, because he doesn't turn 20 for another month. But because he got those chances at West Ham very early, it feels like he's like 22. I can't see him being here next season. I think in the summer he just goes, probably. There's definitely a player in there.
Well, I mean, you kind of look at the players that came in around that time. There's obviously him, Drama, Hjelde, that we all kind of had very high hopes for them. And I know it's only been sort of 18 months, but it's not quite panned out for them.
No, but I mean, Drama and Hjelde have at least had good loans in the Championship.
Yeah, and then
Perkins couldn't get any minutes in League One.
Yeah,
which seems weird. But yeah, on to the actual Peterborough game itself. Peterborough, as always, have got good strikers. and forward players. Like that Ricky J. Jones is very quick. He's a good player. They've still got Johnson Clark Harris, who I believe they did transfer list because he asked them to, but it was for a lot of money. So no one bought him. By the looks of it, very young side as well. Like Ronnie Edwards at centre-back plays every week. He's very highly rated. He's 20. Kwame Poku on the wing, 22, plays a lot. 8 goals, 7 assists this season. Ephraim Mason Clark, I don't know about, to be honest, but he's like an attacking mid by the looks of it, and he's got 8 goals, 5 assists. Harrison Burrows, the left back, who can also play midfield, 3 goals, 7 assists, 21 years old. I mean, there's a really lot of young players on this list, and they are third in League One with 49 points from 25. It's pretty decent going. And they also, their last defeat was on the 21st of November, and that was in the Papa John's, which doesn't really count. So it's really the 7th of November against Wigan. And since then, they've won 9, drawn 3 in the league. So everyone beaten in the last 12 league games. So they're in pretty good nick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are another one of those famously not quite a championship team, probably a bit too good for League One with their record. I mean, they, as we've spoken about fairly recently, their penchant for swapping their 2 managers around is an odd strategy, but it's clearly got them to the fringes of the championship, or staying in the championship anyway.
Yeah, you can't really. It's hard to argue with, isn't it, when they're doing when they haven't really had a problem, but it does reek of a bit of a lack of imagination. Is it the last 7 managers have been 2 people?
Pretty much, yeah.
Ferguson 4 times and McCann 3 times.
Yeah.
From the press conference, there's definitely no Byram, and it is a hamstring injury, which is always worrying with him. Kyle Darlow's thumb injury will have him out for 7 weeks. So that'll take him out for a while. So Klassen's definitely going to start. Pascal Strauch is still out. He said Liam Cooper was doubtful with a muscle problem as well after the game, so you'd think they're probably not going to risk him for this. Gelhardt's out. Ayling and Shackleton have been struggling with knee injuries before this game, so you'd think they're probably still out as well. So Klassen in goal, but the back 4, I'd really like him to be able to rest Rodham for a game, if possible.
I'd like him to rest Archie Gray, but
same. But I was thinking, is it going to be Gray, Cresswell, Yelder, and Firpo?
I assume I'm going to assume that Rodham stays in.
And Cresswell plays left.
It could be Cresswell, could be Yelder. I don't know.
I do think that part of this might come down to, because although the Leeds are very publicly saying, no, like Gelhardt's not going anywhere, Cresswell's not going anywhere, I aren't so sure Cresswell isn't going anywhere. He needs to play. He can't sit, sometimes not even making the bench. He can't sit around doing that for another. He wants to be playing football. And if there's a loan move available to another championship club, they might be saying, can you not play him in the cup 3rd round? Because we'd quite like him to not be cup tied.
Yeah.
The same goes for Ayling, even if he's fit. If there's any truth to this potential Middlesbrough move that we're hearing about. I mean, if they don't want him cup tied, it's probably fair enough to not worry about it so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few options there. I'm certain Ampadu's going to start this game.
He probably is, and he bloody shouldn't.
This is the guy who plays every game. I know he has recently started being subbed with 5 minutes left of games, but Ampadu's played a lot. Gray's played a lot. I don't know if we see Gruev get another go.
I think Gruev starts this definitely. maybe him and I wouldn't mind seeing him and Glenn Kamara for this. Because I know Kamara started the last one, but he hadn't played the one before.
Yeah.
So he's probably all right to start. I mean, I would quite like to see Lewis Bate get thrown in, but I don't think that's going to happen. He might make the bench.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're kind of blessed in the more attacking areas. So you've got Nonto and Anthony will probably start with.
I mean, you would think Bamford stays in up front because he could do with the minutes still. Don't risk Rutter.
I think he plays. I absolutely think he plays.
I wouldn't mind seeing if Bamford starts up front. I really wouldn't mind seeing like Nonto in the 10 and the wide options being like Anthony and Sean McGurk.
Sean McGurk is definitely someone.
Sean McGurk deserves to at least make one appearance for Leeds United. Like he just deserves to. So I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I think if he makes it onto the bench, I'll be fairly happy with that, though. To be honest, the one that I want to start is I want to see Yelder start because it's one of them where I might end up being wrong and he ends up playing and he's dropped down the levels and stuff. But I still think there's a player in there. I have done ever since first time I saw him. I've thought that it looked really good. And I have been right about several and I've been wrong about several, but I still think he's a good player. So I'd like to see him be involved in this game.
Yeah, I mean, as I kind of look through, you could see Joseph thrown in there. Obviously, he's been on the fringes the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I wouldn't, even though Pirot didn't start the last one, I probably wouldn't play him in this one either.
The Pervader's there as well.
Yeah, Pervader might play 10 because he's been coming on at 10.
Yeah. Sorry, I know you went through the team news earlier. Did they say anything about Shackleton? Not Shackleton, about Gelhardt?
Yeah, he's out.
He's out, right? Grand.
That's why, otherwise, I would have probably been saying this is a decent one to give him a going. But yeah, he's out injured.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, it was his glute.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one just based on who's left standing defensively.
Yeah, because unlike
Harry Christie's thrown in at left back.
Well, I read this, so it was probably Andrew Dalton saying that like it's the first time that Leeds had played 3 different goalkeepers in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah,
and you did briefly mention when I saw you last night that you kind of wanted us to play Van den Heuvel just to make that into a real record that you're never going to see get beat 4 in.
He's still got JB's there as well.
Yeah, he's I would be fine with him starting, but I don't think he will.
No, I wonder if the bench is mostly going to be 21 players though. So I'm just looking at it. The last time they played was a couple of weeks ago. But JB played, Bate played, Yelder played. Chris Moore?
Yeah, Chris Moore's... I only half saw this, so I don't know how true it was. Chris Moore was being linked with loan moves to a couple of SPL sides. I quite like Chris Moore. I hadn't seen as much. I mean, half the under 21 games have been off recently, so
yeah.
But he did slip. He had a little bit of, not to the same level, but that sort of Strauch 6 months where he takes a noticeable jump up in performances in the 21s, and he like suddenly looked a lot better.
Yeah,
and Chris Moore had a bit of that.
It's him and Mullen.
I quite like Mullen as well, so maybe we'll see one of them involved. I wouldn't mind if we did.
Again, given the options, it wouldn't shock you if one of them's on the bench anyway.
No. I ask this question when it comes to the FA Cup third round every year. Do you really give a shit?
No,
it's a shame, isn't it? But it's true. If we won this and you get to like the 5th round, you suddenly start thinking, all right, yeah, But truth is, it's just
given the run of form we've just had, you very much look and think, you know what, the last thing we need is more games and potentially replays.
Yeah. I just had a glance. We're 4-6 for this, and I won't back that with someone else's money. It's us in the FA Cup.
I mean,
against the team that's in great form, that's going to be well up for it, and we're not going to be as up for it, and we're going to have a makeshift back line and a keeper that's barely played, even though he did well in the last game. I am full pessimism on this one, and I am going for Leeds get beat 3-1. I have had messages. Connie has gone 3-1 win. Alex has gone 2-1 loss.
I'm going to go 2-0 win.
2-0 win. You and Connie are still in the joint lead, by the way, in terms of just the results. Then Alex 22, me 20, because my pessimism on home games is causing a problem for my points. Now, it'll be interesting to see what sort of side we put out, but I'm not expecting it to be massively strong. But the one thing is, even if we fully rotate in forward areas, we should have enough if we actually play well. It's just a matter of us actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might be for a goal, depending on what price he is, if he starts.
Sorry, for whatever reason, I've just decided to have a quick look at the team we put out to play Crawley when we were in the.
Don't think about that. That's the one where they brought that reality TV prick on for, isn't it?
Yeah, Mark Wright.
Yeah.
One of those things where I looked at it and went,
I think Sam Greenwood was holding mid that day.
He came off the bench. So in my head, we played a much weaker team than we actually did. So it was Casilla in goal.
Well, that's a goal already.
Yeah. I'm just going to read this in order because I can't remember the order. But Davis, Strauch, Cooper, Alioski.
That's all left-sided.
You know what? In fact, Shackleton's in this team, so I'm going to assume Alioski was on the wing.
Yeah.
It's a very short fullbacks. Phillips, Hernandez, Poveda, Costa, Rodrigo. And then at half-time, we brought on Jack Jenkins and Ollie Casey. And then Harrison, Rafinha, and Greenwood came on after that.
Right.
Oh. But yeah, I distinctly remember the start of the second half going.
They deserved every bit of that win, and by the distance as well. We were awful in that game.
Yeah, because you look at that team and go, that's a relatively strong team.
Mm.
Like, I'm sure at that point I was looking and going, we probably shouldn't play Phillips in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he came off at half-time. But we weren't playing well, and then we put Jenkins and Casey on, who together had played a solid maybe 60 minutes of first-team football.
Yeah, that was that weird thing that we saw sometimes in the Cups where there was like preordained substitutions that were planned before the match, regardless of how it was going.
Yeah.
Which was always a bit weird. But yeah, game's Sunday 2:00, but I don't think it's actually on telly, is it?
No.
So, yeah, various forms of the internet radio for loads of people then. But no, obviously on paper, when you look at the squad, we should have enough, but I just don't fancy us for this. I think they're going to
do for the cup, do we? We don't do the cups.
No, we don't. But hopefully you're right and we win it anyway. It hasn't been. I will just quickly check Twitter, check nothing ridiculous has happened.
Joel Peru has been sacked for something. I was about to make something up, then I went, you know what? No.
No, actually.
Oh, dear. Yeah. It's been an interesting 24 hours, but I'm sure we'll all forget about Djed Spence after we get beat by Peterborough in the FA Cup.
Yeah. No, it's a shame, but we'll We'll see anyway. On Sunday, God, I just don't care about the FA Cup until the end of it. Right, anyway, that will do us for episode 246 of the Mike White's podcast. I've definitely got something in my eye. I've been Jack, see ya.
When you said that, I was very quickly going to go, I'm KC. But
yeah,
let's go with that. Solid finish.